Hello everyone, it is Briximus Prime back for another Halo action figure review, and today we're going to be reviewing...
Reach has been good to me. I'm going to tell you first. Don't deny me this. Tell him to make it count.
George. And yeah, this is one of the Spartans from the one of my favorite video games ever, Halo Reach. And yeah, let's just get right on into the review by beginning with his packaging. And now taking a look at George's packaging, right up front here it says Halo, the Spartan Collection, this is George, as you can see it's spelled with a J, eight pieces, and it's got his hands right there in the packaging still, and here on the back you got an image of George. Here's some images of the other figures that were included in this wave, and yeah, that is basically it for the packaging here. And now taking a look at George's accessories here. George does come with a bunch of hands, but first he does come with his big old backpack, and it's got the UNSC logo right there, and looks pretty good, all sculpted and painted, and there's the little notches right there that plug onto his back. We'll show that in a second. And then here is his M247H heavy machine gun, and I totally didn't look at the back of the box for that one. The machine gun looks really cool. I love all of the painted detail and all the sculpting and everything. And it's made out of some really nice, dense plastic. Really like how it came out. Looks awesome, but it'll definitely look a lot better when I get it in his hands. Speaking of his hands, George is so tall I have to actually tilt the camera up. He comes with a single-fisted hand, pointing/trigger finger hands, these double trigger finger pointing hands, and then a pair of just standard grabby hands. Those hands allow him to grab his heavy machine gun. And then his backpack with the little tabs, just tabs right there on his back. It's not too solid of a connection, but it at least stays on pretty well. It's just don't knock him around too much. Here is taking an up-close look at George, and my goodness, again, I love the chrome. The chrome on the helmet really stands out on a lot of these Spartan figures, and I appreciate when they put the chrome in there. It was a real shame that they didn't put that on Noble 6, but I really like how it looks here on George. And again, he's got that helmet attachment right there, and I love his armor color scheme. The green, the red, and yellow is a nice color combination, and with those spots of gray, works really well. And he's got the UNSC logo right there, and again, all of the bits of dry brushing and everything make all the mechanical detailing stand out a whole lot more. He's got these nice these asymmetrical shoulder pads. He's also got one right here, which looks very nice as well. And again, the figure looks awesome, just like a lot of the previous Spartan figures I have taken a look at previously, but the articulation is always lacking in areas. Also, another thing that's usually lacking on other figures is he still does have that little hip panel that you can remove, and you can flip it around, and then you can have him store some extra sidearms and everything on here. But because he doesn't have any extra sidearms that plug into here, at least that he includes, there's not really any reason to use these, so honestly that's not a very valid complaint. Going over George's posability, George can look up that far, he can look down that far. Would have liked for him to have had a removable head. You can have his helmet, you could have his unhelmeted head under there, would have been nice, especially considering the context of this character. His shoulders can rotate a full 360. With both of the shoulder pads, they can move outward about the same, even though they are different shoulder pads. He does have a bicep swivel. Double jointed elbow that barely goes over 90 degrees. A little bit disappointing, but whatever. All the wrists rotate and hinge up and down. And then he does have a very limited diaphragm joint, but it actually works a little bit better than some of the previous figures. If you arch his back a little too much, the backpack comes off, but at least he can arch his back, which a lot of other Spartan figures can't really do. And then he can arch it a little little bit of diaphragm pivot, little bit of waist swiveling. Hips can kick forward, they can kick back, not that much. They can move outward that far. He does got a thigh swivel. Double jointed knees, which look a little weird, but not as much on George. And then his ankles can move up, down. He can pivot. And then he also has a toe bend. So, pretty good articulation on this guy. It's pretty on par with some of the previous Spartans, only he feels a little bit better. And like I said before, George is my favorite Spartan from Halo Reach, and he is definitely one of the best Halo characters out there. And I think this figure was portrayed pretty well. Again, it's just because There are some things that are a little bit off that I wish they did, but I am happy with a lot of the... I am happy that they even did George in the first place, and that's where part of my bias towards this figure comes from, is the character he's based on, not the figure itself. And of course, the only reason why I love the character so much is because he comes from the masterpiece of a game, Halo Reach. Here is George compared next to the last Halo Reach / Spartan collection figures I took a look at, the Noble 6 and June. And then here is George compared to the other Spartan collection figures I've taken a look at, the Halo Infinite Master Chief and the Halo ODST Master Chief. And so yeah, be sure to check out any of those reviews if you missed out on them. And yeah, that is basically it for the Spartan Collections Halo Reach George. And it's a good Spartan figure. It's just the problem is this toy line has not really had a great track record with me, specifically because of their articulation. The figures may look right, but the problem is some of them don't really pose all that well, and some of the plastic feels a little bit more rubbery than it should be. But the fact that this figure is based on George, one of the best characters, if not the best character from Halo Reach, it's just the fact that it's based on that character is mostly where my bias comes from, and I feel like it looks good, it interprets him well. I feel like some of the complaints on some of the other figures is not as justified as it is on this guy, because he still poses a little bit better, especially because he's a little bit of a bigger Spartan compared to a lot of the other figures from this line, so a lot of his articulation is a little bit more lenient, I'd say. But the main thing about this guy is the chrome on the visor, the detail and everything, and it's just a great interpretation of George. And there's not really much else I can really say about it other than that. That's all I really need out of the figure. Like, I'm not really asking any more of it. Like, it would have been nice maybe to have a little bit more bits of articulation to make him a little bit more posable, but it's still George, and in the end, that's all I really need. So if I had to give this figure a rating, I give him a solid 8 out of 10. Not super amazing, like to 10 out of 10, but he does definitely deserve some recognition. So anyway, that is basically it for this review. If you guys enjoyed the review, be sure to give me a like on the video, comment down below what you guys think, and let me know what your favorite Halo game is, or your favorite moment from Halo Reach, or whatever, and I'll catch you guys next time.